Well, hi, my name's Christian Anderson, and myself and Katarina Abderholden, we are two creatives here in Wisconsin, Appleton, Wisconsin, who said that we needed to start something up to start some conversations between the creatives and the community. And so we started a little paper, and off of that paper, then we branched into these video productions, these interviews. And today, I'm going to let Ian in here. Everyone, a lot of people joining. Today we have Len Borusso and Joanna Dane who's going to join us, and we're super excited to have these two extremely creative individuals with us, both tonight and in our city, and we're kind of lucky. Before we start the interview, though, I just wanted to thank the sponsors that kind of keep our boat going. First and foremost, our Patreon supporters. We do have some people that every month give us a little money, and that's what really is a huge backing to our paper. And then Moonwater Cafe, they are a new sponsor. They are a coffee shop right on Law Street. And then there's Mud and Prints in Appleton, the Trout Museum of Art in Appleton, Fox Valley Symphony Orchestra in Appleton, and a Valley Academy for the Arts in Neenah. So those are our main sponsors. But let's start by greeting our guests, Len and Joanna. How are you two doing tonight?
Thanks so much we're doing great. Thank you so much for inviting us. We feel really honored to be a part of these conversations. And I think the work that you and Katarina are doing is just wonderful for our community.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Ditto.
All right, interview's over. No.
So
people can ask questions, and there's a little chat box. And if you have anything that you'd like to ask Len and Joanna specifically, you'll type it in the chat, and then we'll unmute you and let you ask them directly. But maybe first we'll just hand this over to Len to kind of get this going.
Well, FSM is an amazing resource, and this is the current, but I know the new one's already coming out, right? But this is the current. And in the back, there's a little manifesto that I wrote. And people say, until something's sort of codified, it's not real. So thank you for printing this. I can now pin it on any door I need to. But I thought I would read it because it's short. Neighborhood Core, a manifesto. What is Neighborhood Core? Neighborhood Core is daring filmmaking that embraces people and places that directly surround you. How do you know if a film is Neighborhood Core? You were probably in it or know someone who was. The most necessary action to take in order to direct DIY Neighborhood Core cinema is to just do it. If you feel like you do not at present have the right equipment, use any gear necessary. In every case, the most important gear is the one between your ears. And reach out and find like-minded people as committed to Neighborhood Core as you are. So I'll pause the manifesto. I'll pause here. That's who I found, Joanna. She's over there.
Thank you, Anna.
Have as your goals to make movies for the love of doing it and share with your community. Making Neighborhood Core movies should always be like having a picnic with friends, Fellini. Make sure that you're satisfied with your film since it does have your name on it and everyone else's. And keep evolving your style and challenging yourself. So that's there.
That's the manifesto.
Yes.
Len, what got you into making films? What set you off on finding this style that you've created?
Well, I think it was just being raised in Jersey City, New Jersey, which is like very street cultured. So I was a very street cultured person, and photographing in the street, and then getting into documentaries, and then experimental and narrative film. No matter what genre or format of film, I kept my nose to the ground. So if I was doing documentaries, it was like about a homeless garden that was doing community supported agriculture. Or now with narrative film, it's like, who's around us? What's going on? So I guess that's the theme that I keep through all my work, no matter what format. But that's the inspiration, is just seeing these mundane things and turning them into something magical. That's what keeps me going.
Yeah. And would you say that even though you're doing more narrative work right now, does it still kind of have a feel of a documentary? Do you try to keep that through it?
No, I think that one of my other mottos is sort of like, don't be trapped by the truth. So I went through documentaries and cinema verite and all that. And now I'm at a place where it's like, and it's great to have partner in crime, cinematic crime like Joanna, because it's like, here's some fairy dust, Len. What are you going to do with it? So,
yeah,
you know, we're expansive. We're just bringing all kinds of elements in and telling our stories that way. We're really inspired by Appleton, even the history of Appleton, which is our most recent work, is like a period piece. And it's just looking around and finding those elements, whether it's like the amazing Dan Davies, turns out to be our neighbor, or the fact that, you know, hydroelectro power started here. And what does that mean? So yeah, there's a lot of mystery around us, and we're just, I think, trying to stay in tune to that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And your partner in crime in all of this, Joanna, the one with the fairy dust. Joanna, you come with a lot of skills to all this, because you kind of have your hands in all sorts of creative endeavors. What are some things that you work on?
Well, one of the original ideas that I had working with Len actually was I wanted to make a podcast, and I wanted to make something sort of abstract, and I make a lot of abstract music with my music partner Tad Newhouse. At the time, this was before we started playing with Lauren Dempster as well. And so I had written out this really sort of inaccessible script, and Tad and I wanted to I wanted to read it and have some abstract music behind it. And then I just met Len and I said, hey, do you want to make some sort of film to go along with it? And I was thinking something sort of non-narrative filmmaking. And the great thing was that Len picked out the only concrete image in the whole script, and used that and said, let's film this, let's make this into a little film. So it turned out that, so then, you know, it went from the idea of making a podcast into making a film, which was great because I had always had this dream of working with a filmmaker and being on the set of creating a film. So that was our first just like little experiment that we did called Xeno Effect. And we could show that. Are we going to show that? Or I thought that was one of the ones that we might show. We could show a little film right now if we want to.
Oh, sure. Is that
Christian on the spot?
Yeah, I know, right? I better pull that up really quick. Is that one of the ones on the Vimeo channel?
Yes.
Okay. Let me
Sorry,
figure
guys.
out what I got going on here. Oh no, that's all right. See, I had Moondog ready.
Well, speaking of Moondog is in the house.
Moondog.
It's down there.
And so I could talk a little bit about the inspiration for that film. Again, that comes from music. We were really inspired by an actual musician named Moondog. If you don't know anything about Moondog, he was rather famous for being a homeless musician in New York City. and was so sort of innovative. He got the attention of a lot of sort of professional musicians, and had a number of albums that were produced, but in studios and with big time musicians. They still just played on the street. He was really famous, and people would see him around. And he had this really big beard, and it turns out that my father-in-law has a big white beard. And we had this idea, well, we should make a movie about Moondog. I think it's actually because I was playing banjo in the downtown at Mile Music I mean, not as an official act, but just like in a little alleyway. And this homeless man actually came into the alleyway and then like laid down on a bench and turned his back to me and like covered his ears with his backpack so that he couldn't hear what I was playing. And I thought that was really funny. So we decided to use that as like the basis of a movie about a street musician. And since my father-in-law was coming into town, I said, Moondog's coming into town, let's make this movie. And it just like was this whirlwind of activity, and we filmed it in like a single day. And through Len's movie making magic, he really made it beautiful. And Elise, and we have a prop from that as well. So I don't know, we could watch that.
We'll see that. But I get an email like on a Wednesday or something like, Moondog is in town and we have to film this. And I'm thinking Moondog is like a world famous musician. I had no idea it was John, but it's okay, John. Now I know. But so that was like part of the deal. And then the script arrived. I was on my porch just hanging out with my son, and all of a sudden Tad and Joanna roll up, put on like a portable record player, start playing a record, and then hand me this thing, which, okay, this is the actual script. It's like one piece of butcher paper and like a red, what's upside down, hold on. Red marker. So when you watch the movie, this is the movie.
That's all right. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Should we start off playing that then, Moondog?
Yeah, let's watch Moondog.
All right.
Okay.
Let me cue that one up.
It's 3 minutes of magic, I think.
That's one that played at Wildwood, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So off of that, you want to quick explain what Wildwood is? Because maybe not everyone would know what Wildwood is.
You want to take that one?
The Wildwood Film Festival is a local film festival, and they've been going for, I don't know, 17, 18, 20 years, something like that. And it's, I think, exclusively Wisconsin filmmakers, correct me if I'm wrong. And Moondog was part of Wildwood 3 years ago, I suppose.
All right. Well, let's play Moondog.
Okay.
All right. So hopefully that came through pretty decent.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Okay. I found this. I love the music in Moondog. I can listen to that all day. I was like, do we still have this Viking helmet that Elise paints? Hold on. It was in my garage. I got to get it back to Elise. Hold on. All right, here we go.
This is Elise Krista Mishy's. She helped us make the costume.
This is the Viking helmet. I don't know how it fit on John's head, but it's
pretty beautiful.
John's head's bigger than mine. But I got to get this back to Elise. And this little object of art was actually when I was doing the residency at the Appleton Public Library. It was in a glass case for 2 months at the public library. So it's all handmade. It's really nice.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love Elise's work, and it's great that all these community people are coming together on this project like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, movie making is definitely a group effort, and that everybody was able to come together. I mean, it just was this really fun day where we were running around and filming all these scenes. So we thank, of course, John Fleckner, who is in the house, for being very game for this odd, this odd assignment of being Moondog, and all the extras who participated. My husband was there shaking his head at me playing banjo, and of course Tad Newhouse, who was the magic behind making the music for that, setting the music up to the film. So that was our thanks to Tad.
Wonderful. So, you had that script all written out, but how much of the movie changes as you're actually creating it? Does it stay linear? Like, at the 6-inch point on the butcher paper, we're supposed to do this. Did you do that, or did you change things up when you hit the 6-inch point?
We stuck to the script.
Pretty good.
Because I it's pretty much the same idea. It's like, I'll take whatever Joanna dishes out, right? And then I could process it. Okay, this is what we're doing today. We're gonna go to Top Spins. Then we're gonna go in Tad's backyard. Then we're gonna go to Jacob's. Then we're gonna, etc. And just kind of break it down and then cover the script like that. So even though to me, it's just poetry. So I'm just translating poetry, but we stick to the story that's written. Yeah.
Yeah. And poetry. So, Joanna, you do a lot of different things. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the different art forms that you kind of encompass, and maybe a little bit about your poetry. You got a poem featured in the first issue of FSM, I believe.
Yeah, that was a little ekphrasis piece based on Ray Blum's artwork, which was up here. We're at the 602 Club right now. And so the work that I do, I think of myself mostly as a writer, but I've come to think of all art forms as arranging. So whether it's music or movies or dance or writing, we're arranging. And this sort of came to mind one day. I was like, oh, we're humans. Like, we just want to arrange things. That's what we're always doing. We're in our houses, like wherever we are all day long, we're arranging things. And so to me, I sort of was thinking about how that's this common denominator through all art forms, that we're just arranging sounds, colors, words. And those ideas sort of coalesced for me when I was teaching at Renaissance High School and teaching kind of a wide range of different classes and different ideas, and also working on a blog that I had for 5 years called A Terminal Case of Whimsy. And that the idea behind that blog is actually based in this ancient Japanese literary tradition of, well, I'll probably pronounce it wrong, but it's something like suhitsu, which is the art of sort of recording fragments of daily life. And it's kind of interesting that in, like 700 Japan between like 700 and 900, it was somewhere in there that this literary movement was kind of at its height, that people were writing about just like fragmented forms of writing, which is exactly what we're doing today. On the internet, it's very conducive to this fragmented form of writing. And also now we have this platform. So like on the blog, I could do sound, I could do, videos and visual art and writing. And so it became just this platform for me. And the idea was that every day I would try and make a piece of creative work, and whatever it was, put it out there, and it didn't matter if it connected directly to the day before or not. And what I found was that over time, all of the pieces started to connect. So these fragments became really kind of bigger wholes. And that's when I started thinking about the idea of what is the unifier behind all these different art forms. And I started thinking about how, well, it's about arrangement. And so when I'm writing or collaging or making music, that's part of the thought, is that we're just taking these elements and just arranging them into like playing with them, playing in a sandbox and coming up with different arrangements. And for some reason, to our human brain, it's really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's fantastic to think about how this old art form is resurfacing again on a Twitter feed. Do you think that it's as productive in Twitter as it was in this, Japanese element?
Well, I don't know. Is it
on Twitter?
Well, I'm not on Twitter, so I can't really say for sure. But I was just reading something. There's this really excellent website called Brain Pickings or Brain Pickers. I can't remember. Brain Pickings. I don't know if you know that one.
Yeah, it's the one that has like a yellow banner on it or something, right?
But that's
has like a yellow banner on it. Yeah,
correct.
Yeah, I know which one. Yeah.
And she just featured Zadie Smith, who's a writer, and Zadie Smith was writing. I guess she has a new book out, and writing about how I liked this image of, how you bake banana bread, or you write a novel, like they're equal. It's something to do. And so whether you're living in the year 900 in Japan, or whether you're living in 2020, and whether you're putting stuff out on Twitter, or you're like scribing something out and hiding it under your pillow, you're courtesan hiding it in your pillow book, you're just doing something. It's just like this human need to do and to create, I think, is probably pretty similar now as it was then.
What are some ways that you're taking these creations, and the movie you put out into the Wildwood Film Festival, and there's videos on YouTube and Vimeo, and then Joanna, you're talking about the blog and whatnot. What other ways have you been able to share some of these creative outputs with the community?
I can take this one.
Okay.
For example, when I first moved here, I thought I had just worked on a film in Taiwan, and I was in the night market in Taipei, and I was like, we really should have a night market. And so I ended up meeting Adrienne Palm. She was going to do this thing called Bazaar After Dark. I was like, that's what I'm talking about. So I got a projector. I was teaching at Renaissance as well, and I would just screen my students' work during Bazaar After Dark. So that was one way. Curiously, the person next to me was painting a mural, and that was Zerinio. That's the Love mural.
Yep.
And so we were just all jamming there together, it's like kind of was cool. Like people would go watch him paint. He always is very kinetic in painting with music, and then they'd come back and chill out and watch some movies with me, and then they'd go right back to him. And But so that's one way we connected with the community, I think. And then also, I know my friend our friend Frank Anderson's trying to get in here. He's probably knocking on the door, but so Frank, for example, had his film, which was The Life of Riley, on Blu-ray. So he wanted to show it, so we showed it here at the 602 Club. So we bring people here to the 602 Club and screen films too, like the winter film series. I've done that for the last 4 years, and I'll keep doing it. Once we can get back to it, we'll keep screening films here too. And this is a great, just a really magical space actually on winter film series night.
I have a feeling that a fair amount of people in this chat room know where you're at and maybe know a little bit about the magic that happens in that space, but we'll be putting this up on YouTube, and so not everyone's going to know. Can you talk a little bit about what the 602 Club is and maybe what brought it up and maybe an idea of where you'd like it to go, if you want it to go anywhere different than where it's at right now?
Yeah, so this is a house that's on the corner of Pacific and Law Street here in Appleton. And it's right across the street from Jacob's Meat Market, which is kind of a hub of neighborhood activity. And this house had fallen into disrepair, and let's just say that. And one day there's a woman in the neighborhood who we didn't really know very well, but we had met and walking around, and she pointed at this house and said, that would make a great community house someday. And it just happened to be that my husband, Andrew Dane, who is a really fantastic, energetic guy and has a lot of brilliant ideas. And he had been talking for probably a decade before that about opening a creativity center. And we always joked that it was like the most uncreative name for this idea that he had. And he had looked into buying a number of different buildings in places where we had lived before. And I was always so thankful that we had never purchased any of these places. But suddenly and then all of a sudden this house went up for auction. There was a sign outside that went up for auction. And we were walking through the neighborhood. I said, let's go talk to a couple of friends of mine who I had met in yoga class, and because they live in the neighborhood, and I wanted to introduce them to Andrew. So we went and met them, and we started talking about how this house is for sale, for auction, and they know what an important location it is because it's across the street from everyone's favorite market. And they said, well, do you need some investors? You want to do this together? And so the four of us came together and bid on the house. It took a couple of different cycles of bidding on it until we got it. And then the original idea actually was to make a coffee shop here, but that became kind of immediately evident that it was way too expensive, like $100,000 or more just to convert it over into a real coffee shop. And so we had to figure out what we could do with it to make a little bit of money and support it. And there was an apartment, there's a little apartment in it. So we were able to get somebody to rent the apartment, and that's where we got us started. And then some people in the neighborhood came together, our neighbor across the street, Maddie, who ended up opening up Harmony Pizza. He was the originator of one of the originators of Harmony Pizza. He was super instrumental in helping us clean the place up and get it open and bring in a bunch of people who wanted to see events here. And he had a meditation class, and we did pumpkin carving, and we just started doing things in the space. And pretty soon it became really evident that people like to gather here and that we need to have it kind of open and free. And so we just had a really simple, we have a Facebook page, the 602 Club Facebook page, and a really simple way to put up events on the calendar if you have an idea for an event. And if you want to do an event, you can, we encourage people to become members, so to help pay for the space. And it kind of snowballed from there. And it's now 5 years, I think, that we've had this place, and we've had literally hundreds of events here by so many different people, so many things happening that I have no idea. Oftentimes I don't even know, what's going on or who's using the space. Of course, right now during quarantine, that's, during Corona, that hasn't really been happening, but, art openings and film screenings, and there's a church that meets here, and there's political events, and there's dinner parties, and all kinds of regular card night and knitting club. So it's just it's a space that feels very home. It's a home, and so it feels very homey, but it's nobody's home. So people feel really free to come here and have a concert. And a lot of musicians who have performed here actually have said kind of how, first of all, it's kind of scary because it's so quiet and there's, close and much more intimate than a lot of musicians are used to, but that such an enjoyable spot to perform in because everybody is sitting and listening and really, really engaged in the music and what's happening. So it's due to so many people, and particularly Andrew and other people who've put in just hours and hours and hours of physical labor to keep the house standing. It's really has been a magical place for the neighborhood, I think.
Yeah. And it's cool because it's a kind of a neighborhood that I grew up in. My best friend lived, his father still lives in the house next door. And when I grew up, the Knightskis, Angela Knightsky, her father, had lived in the home that's now the 602 Club. So for me personally, it's really fantastic to revisit this neighborhood that I once knew were very specific friends, and now they're very specific other friends. And it's really a fantastic thing. So I'm glad to know that the home was brought out of that disrepair and into something like this. So thank you.
And well, thank you, Christian. And we look forward to having your art here after everything kind of opens back up. We'd love to have a show with your art.
Oh, I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Kat, did you have any questions at all that you wanted to?
No, I'm just like taking it all in because this is, a huge reason why I moved back to this area is finding and connecting with people that are integrating art into the community and really like bringing that to the forefront, understanding that that is an essential part of communication and connection. And I kind of actually want to ask a question about being in a creative process together. Because I feel like a lot of different like mediums are coming into play, and like how do you organize and translate, or not even translate, but like adapt from different processes? So I don't know who wants to answer that, but I'm really interested in that.
Are you asking more about like collaborating with other people, or you're talking about sort of moving from like one art form to another, like individually, or
from
just to clarify?
Yeah, from what I was listening to, it kind of sounds like for you personally, Joanna, you pull in more than one creative genre when you're making something. And I'm just wondering, like in a collaborative process, what is it like to kind of bounce through those different processes or communication styles as you're coming together, if that makes sense?
Yeah, sometimes it gets a little messy. So yeah, it is interesting. I mean, I think the things that we've done so far, like we try to allow everybody to shine, in their individual thing that they do. Len is so amazing at like picking out the shot and like just making something very ordinary, making it really beautiful, and then doing all of that technical stuff, and then being able to edit it all together. And my interest lies more in the script writing and the music part of it. So there were a little bit of rough patches there when we were trying to bring it all together, particularly trying to figure out how to integrate the music into it. And so we really are thankful to Tad Newhouse and Lauren Dempster for all their patience as we tried to figure that out. But I think it was just, what worked for one project didn't necessarily work for another project, and we had to figure out how to make it all work. And basically about, like who's going to control the overall picture of it and how does that, so there's some negotiating, I guess, that happens, but fortunately, just through talking through it, we were able to work it out and continue to work together.
Yeah, the ideas keep coming, so we definitely have to do like a framework. Like, and here's the framework. It's sort of like, if it's really important to you, you gotta let me know, and I'll let you know. Or if it's just, meh, what do you think? So that's kind of how we worked that out. But it was interesting. The last winter film series was Jarmusch. And so I always go get the, interview with whatever director I've picked. So for a winter film series, I pick one director and show 4 films. And in Jarmusch, he was reading about his relationship with John Lurie, who's a musician, and how they were just at each other, even on set. But through that, they learned to like respect each other, have more respect for each other's work and opinion. So I would I'm reading this like midnight or something, take a picture of that, send it to Joanna. You see, we're not crazy. We're sort of still crazy, but we're not the only ones who are crazy. Maybe. So it's real. We definitely don't agree about stuff sometimes, but then we're saying like, well, how much does this mean to you? Okay. And then we just like resolve, because we have so many ideas. We just have to keep moving forward. So if you have the desire to work with someone, you figure it out.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
There's a lot of trust in working with people like, with each other, and just knowing that if someone, Joanna or you, Len, you both love something that you just want to hold on to it, that's great that the other person has that faith that however this is going to come into the project, it's going to be successful. It's not always easy to, as creatives, to say what we want or why we want it, or you might, well, I guess Joanna, you're great with words, and Len actually probably too with script writing, so maybe you're coming from a different perspective than like myself as a visual artist. I have a hard time with words sometimes. Do you feel like you're able to put your vision encapsulated into words and share it with each other, or is it kind of a lot of fumbling around like I would be when I'm trying to explain the project?
Well, we don't live. I'll take this one. We don't live that far away from each other, and sometimes it's like I cannot text. I am not like little kid. Or it's just not working. So then at that point you're just like, come over, like Linda Berry's book, come over, and so then we just like we'll like talk through stuff like that face to face. That's if it gets to that. But most of the time we're on the same page. And the real answer is that I love writing, and Joanna is directing a lot too. And she even when I met her, she had already done a 9-part video series about gardening, in quotes, because it was really about her relationship with Andrew. That's on YouTube, and it's amazing. So she's already a great editor. She already has a great sense of rhythm in editing, and she already has a great eye. So I think between me writing and doing the directing, cinematography, etc., and Joanna already being a filmmaker really in her own right and writing. I also do a movie review blog. If I don't mention David, he'll kill me. So I do the L&D report. So when we could go to the movies, we went to the movies once a week, and lndreport.com, and you can go read our reviews. So I was constantly writing. My point is not so much how much I love writing reviews, but that I was constantly writing and thinking. And so that's where we're meeting. We're meeting at a place where she's doing some directing, I'm doing some writing. When I'm editing, she'll come over, we'll look at the cut. What do you think? No, I don't think so. Raise the music a little bit. So it's really like definitely like a partnership in that way, for real. And yeah, we argue and stuff too, but I mean, it's real. So that's how it works. Again, if you really have to want to and enjoy working with someone at that point, because then after you're done with the work, there's the other thing. How many film festivals did you submit to, or how are we going to screen this? Our last film, Anger, we did a YouTube premiere, which was a little terrifying, not unlike this, but this is more like adrenaline. But YouTube premiere is a new world, and what happens? People come together to watch your movie at a particular time because it's live and there's a chat, and so that was new too. So we're just constantly pushing the envelope and trying to get out different outlets and trying to meet the day, like what's happening now.
Yeah. Did you want to watch a little bit of Anger?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that'd be great. And I would like to say too that we have some special condolences, and we're thinking about Dan Davies, who lost his father this week. And Dan is a really special guy, and he just just gave his time and energy to this little neighborhood movie, even though he makes movies, all over the world. So our hearts are going out to Dan tonight. So just want to put that out there. He did a fantastic job. And just another little point on the making of Anger, we based it a little bit on some stories that Dan had told me about his own kind of working through anger. That was part of it. Another part of it was hearing about a teacher who we know who got so upset that he threw a chair through a window, and that image just always was so it just so ripe, for something. So
not that we would ever do that.
When I wrote out this script, I left a lot of room. I'm also really inspired by Larry David, who's, of course, from Curb Your Enthusiasm. And the way that he wrote Curb Your Enthusiasm was he would just write out an outline, and then the actors would fill in the moment. And so we did leave a lot of open space here. And Dan just did a really fantastic job with that. So I just wanted to put that in there, a lot of improvising on this script.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joanna.
Lots of love for Dan. And we could also show Life, like we could do a double feature right now. We could roll Life with Dan and then just roll into Anger. That might be cool.
Yeah.
And the scene in,
No, you're going to say something, Joanna?
just one more thing about this scene that we're showing from Anger. I believe it's the classroom scene. And so this was filmed at Renaissance School for the Arts, which is a really amazing charter school here in Appleton. Really, really unique situation where the students get to have 2 periods in the afternoon of arts classes that are taught, some by staff and some by guest artists. And Len and I were both very grateful to be guest artists at Renaissance. And it was just a really fantastic teaching situation. So this was Len's class. And so this day, the class was to, appear in this film. So that was really a fun thing to do.
Yeah, that's great. And I was thinking, as I was watching before, I recognized some of the kids. And I don't know if it's just maybe from the Trout or something, but some of them I definitely had recognized from out and about in Appleton. So,
and they do a great job being, all their instructions was just be really bored in school. And they're like really, really good at that.
Yeah, no, definitely. So are we going to start with the full Life with Dan and then do
Yes.
Classroom of Anger?
Yes.
Got it. All right, let me get the computer working here.
Now, Life with Dan also played, we'll do a shout out for Waiwiga Film Festival, which is an amazing fest that's run by Kathy and Ian. If you don't know about them, it's like a wonderful film festival. And both of these films, Moondog and, no, it was Anger and Life with Dan played Waiwiga also.
All right, let's see.
So you're telling me you met the guy who delivers death to every doorstep and you survived?
That sounds good too. That's interesting.
Yeah, that was a film by Jeremy Schaefer. Is he in the house? I don't think so. Computer issues. All right, this is the one.
In Africa, it's a whole different ballgame. It was a #1 Nollywood film I was in, and then to give you an example, there were pirates that pirated DVD copies of my film, A Trip to Jamaica, and they got arrested, and they had 20 million copies of my film. I have to have a bodyguard with me all the time. Nigerian people are lovely, but they're very demonstrative if they recognize you. And they don't believe in the personal space if they recognize somebody. Here in Appleton, though, I mean, if somebody recognizes me, that's a bonus, but I always make the joke that the only people that actually know me in Appleton are 4 bartenders and my garbage van. And the reason being the garbage van, because I'm really fastidious about my recycling. And and the bartenders, that's for, you know, obvious reasons. Once in a while someone recognizes you, or they're very complimentary. There are a lot of people here in Appleton that are film aficionados, so they understand film. So it's really cool when they watch the film and deconstruct it and tell you why they like it. They know exactly why they like it. I like Rookies because they have really great food and great people. I like Old Town Tavern, Cleo's, Dirty Leprechaun, Dr. Jekyll's. Did I say Wooden Nickel? Okay. If I'm out and having a few drinks, then I'm very gregarious, very outgoing. But to be honest with you, I'm quite reclusive. If I'm out, I'm usually, you know, watching sports, and then if I engage in a conversation with somebody, then it's because of the fact that I've had a few drinks. You know, then I feel bold enough to come up to them and go, "Hey, how you doing?" and blah blah blah. And if I have more than 3 or 4 drinks, then it's like I'm Chatty Cathy. You know, blah blah blah. I'm Dan Davies. Blah blah blah. I'm Dan Davies. You know. But, with acting, there are no parameters. From the nuances of it, from how you create the character. What I always try to do is I start with, what did my character have for breakfast? You know, what are my character's favorite shoes? And I craft it from that, literally from the ground up. And then once I have it down pat, then I add in the nuances. The more you can get into the character, the more you become the character. In acting, you should always listen with your ears, but also, more importantly, listen with your eyes to the other actor. And that way, there's more of a fluidity and a connection to that scene. But it's one of the last bastions of amazing, unbridled creativity. Top 5 all-time baseball players. Willie Mays is #1. Babe Ruth is #2. Ted Williams is #3. Henry Aaron is #4. #5, I could go really old school with this. Rogers Hornsby was an amazing player. Ty Cobb, but Ty Cobb was such an a-hole on many levels. I mean, I just can't separate the fact that he was just an a-hole, but he was an amazing baseball player, but he was just such a, I like saying a-hole. When I wrote it, I wanted to get across a dichotomy of a character. So this priest who is a drinker, smoker, he swears, but he loves God and he loves people, and he's really genuine about helping people. When I was creating the character, it was like, this is the closest to who I am as a human. I wanted that boldness of his faith and the boldness of his personality to come out. The stories that I'm writing, the screenplays that I'm writing, I visualize through that. I visualize through my goals that I've set for myself. If I'm in the process of creating a character for a film or a TV show, I'm working on that. And then all my goal attainment, I see it in my mind's eye. I see them come to fruition clear in my head.
That was fantastic. We're really lucky to have some amazing people here in Appleton. Um, let me load up Anger, and then we'll talk a little bit about the films, okay? Let's see. Anger.
Democracy. What is democracy? Anyone? Bueller? Anyone? In the democratic system, what is our primary responsibility as a citizen? Cheryl, get off your damn phone.
Dude, chill. I'm just texting my mom.
Hey Daniels, how are you today?
My students are out of control. I'm like so stressed.
Oh,
Have you ever tried a primal scream?
and now we're going to finish. We're all going to do a primal scream.
Yes.
6 more minutes.
So yeah, that was a
What would you like
great
to
great
share
character.
about those?
Pardon me?
What would you like to share about those two, the film and the clip?
I would just say, like, watching that again, it's like that character has such a great intention, but doesn't know how to contain himself. And so it's really written beautifully. And then Dan also really just embodied this in like a great way. I've been around a lot of amazing, well-known actors, but Dan has got it. You know, it's hard to put into words, but you just see it on screen. And when I'm filming, when I'm looking through the viewfinder, it doesn't matter if it's digital or film or whatever, it's alive. So yeah, he's great to work with, great actor.
Hey, Kat, I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
So at the end of Anger, and there's all those chairs in the classroom empty of kids, and it really reminds me of the Pina Bausch piece, Dancing with the Chairs in the cafe. Is there anything that you would pull between like a Pina Bausch piece and that Anger there?
Yes, in a lot of ways. Kind of what Len was saying, like the artistry of the actor. I mean, the set in itself holds space, but it's the intention of how someone operates in that space. And actually, even the kids, like watching that, they were so in their zone that it was like that. There's the magic that you can kinesthetically feel and relate to it. And to me, that's what makes Pina Bausch's work. I mean, it is very different, but she has a process of really capturing and promoting the intuitive processing that an artist has to come alive in the work that they're doing and really embody what they're doing. So I feel like watching Anger, that like when he threw the chair, I was like, oh, okay. Like that was that moment where it just came so organically out of it. And then just, yeah, I don't know.
In the next scene, Dan hugs a tree. It doesn't work, but
Trees too.
so there's a lot of physicality in our films for sure. That's one other theme, definitely.
And that scene where the kids are walking out, I think that's my favorite part of the movie, just that, because it is like a little dance that was not choreographed, but you realize that that happens every time a bell rings in a classroom and the kids get up and walk out, that it is a little dance. And some of them came back and left, and that idea of arrangement, how the kids are arranging themselves in the space. So I think I like how you equated that with the dance, because it feels like that. And then when the room is empty, that it just Dan standing there, and with the empty chairs, there's that kind of resonating feeling between that, the movement and then the empty space. So I like that you pointed that out, Christian.
Thank you. Well, we're going to open this up to questions in a little bit if anyone wants to know anything from these two. But before we do that, I was wondering, am I making any noise right now, or am I on mute?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Only because okay. I was wondering, Joanna, would you share a poem with us? Do you have something that we can put you on the spot with really quick? Or you could just turn around and read something on your wall. There's some great things back there, I think.
I don't know if this is really putting me on the spot. I don't think I have anything like really on me. I'll look. Give me a second, and maybe we could end with that.
All right, sounds good.
But let's go to something else, and I'll look through my little notebook and see.
While Joanna looks, I'd just like to say we are working on another movie right now called The Governor, and it is a historical piece. And I was going to shoot in black and white, and then after taking a tour of the Hearthstone, which is just amazing. If you've never been in there, immediately go. The craftsmanship, the colors in there, the vibe in there. So we spoke with the executive director, George, and he's down for us to film there. So I think it's going to make The Governor like a wonderful, amazing movie, just even that scene. And of course, Dan plays the real life Mr. Rogers, who was the owner of the mills at that time and who brought through hydropower on the river, the Vulcan Street plant, which is at the base of Law Street, was able to get electricity to his house, which was a Hearthstone. So we're really stoked about that, and that's our upcoming project.
That's super exciting. Do you work with are you working with Frank Anderson in any way? I mean, just because I'm thinking about the history that he chronicles in the Appleton area, do you lean on him at all in this piece?
It's, believe it or not, it's amazing you said that. It was really came from a conversation with Frank. He was telling me about this guy who would sit in this little shack and try to regulate the power up to the big house by staring at a light bulb. The river, there's no governor, right? There's no regulator. So if the river was flowing really hard, that dude would have to like turn this little wheel until the light bulb got to be just right. So that's the character of the governor. And it did come from a conversation with Frank.
Huh. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
That's great. Joanna.
Okay.
Enough time.
I'm back. Yeah. I'll give you a choice. I can either read the poem that was in the first issue of FSM,
FSM.
or which is about Ray's, one of Ray's paintings, an ekphrasis piece, or I could recite my sidewalk poem. You get to pick, Christian.
I would like to hear the piece based off of Ray's work, and maybe also a definition of what that title actually means.
Okay, I learned that from Mike Pekarsky, who was the director of Renaissance, and when I was, for the first half of when I was there, and he said, well, would you teach an ekphrasis class? And I was like, I don't know what that is. So he explained to me that that is when you write a poem that is inspired by a piece of artwork, and sort of traditionally it's a piece of visual artwork that, and there's some famous examples by John Keats has a rather famous example. But I think in a kind of broader definition, any work of art that you do that you're inspired by another work of art could count as ekphrasis in my book. But so when Ray hung up her artwork and filled the 602 Club with her really beautiful paintings that also are sort of collages and are sculptures, are very sculptural, I just wrote this little poem that was inspired by her work. So I'll just read that. In the frame of paint and lace, a lonely man stares, an angel appears, a child swings high, a butterfly glides, while stairs lead to a room full of light. Blooming rays open the gates as the cars roll by. A family searches the shore under a torn paper sky. And that it actually has a little song that Tad Newhouse and I did, but that's that's for another day, I guess.
Well, thank you very much for thank you for sharing that, and thank you for having it in the first issue of FSM. This is going to be kind of like conversational, but anyone know how Ray's doing?
I haven't seen Ray for a while.
Yeah, strange. All right. Does anyone have any questions at all that they'd like to ask Len or Joanna? And if so, you can just type it in that little chat, and then we'll unmute you and you can ask them directly. Put them on the spot. Going once. Going twice. Ian says that he loves you guys very, very much, enjoyed the stories, and absolutely. I mean, thank you for sharing this time with us. It means a lot that I'm willing to, like, you know, put your work out in the world and then also have these little intimate conversations. It's really fantastic. So thank you for spending time with us.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity. It's really special, and you know, you don't often get to speak about your own work, so cherish that. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you both. It was fun.
Thank you. Anything else you want to share before we sign this off?
How you doing over there? I think we're good.
All right. There is a question, Len, if you're going to include welding in future films. Is this a hidden talent or?
No, but I will say this. I just picture locked on a film about Irineo Medina.
Yeah.
It's a 5-minute film, and just waiting for some music right now. But I will do a YouTube premiere. It's called Paint the City. Pretty strong work because it's just about him. He's the narrator, sort of like in a Life with Dan kind of way, and you get to really know Irineo a little better. So look out for that. It's called Paint the City.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you very much for doing that and sharing what us, the rest of us artists are doing too. That's fantastic. All right. Well, then once again, we're FSM, Christian, Katerina. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a good night.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.